The first thing Lily Chen felt was pain. It was not sharp. It was heavy, pressing down on her chest, her head, her entire body. Her ears rang, as if someone had dropped her into deep water. She tried to move, but her limbs felt unfamiliar, slow to respond. "Miss Miller. Miss Miller." A voice cut through the fog. Lily frowned. Miller. That wasn't her name. She forced her eyes open. Bright white light flooded her vision. The smell of disinfectant hit her nose. A hospital room. Expensive. Too clean. Too quiet. A nurse leaned over her, relief clear on her face. "You're awake. Thank goodness. Please don't move yet." Lily's throat was dry. "Where am I?" The nurse smiled gently. "You're in City Central Hospital, Miss Grace Miller." Lily's heart skipped. "That's not my..." Her voice came out hoarse and weak. She stopped, swallowing painfully. "My name is Lily." The nurse paused, confused. "You hit your head pretty badly. Memory confusion is normal. Don't worry, your family is on the way." Before Lily could protest, the nurse pressed a button and stepped out. Lily stared at the ceiling, her mind racing. "This isn't my body." She slowly raised her hand. The fingers were long and pale, the skin smooth, the nails carefully shaped. This was not the hand of a woman who worked double shifts and washed dishes until midnight. Panic crawled up her spine. She turned her head slightly and caught her reflection in the glass cabinet. A stranger stared back. The woman had delicate features, soft lips, and calm eyes that looked distant even in shock. She was beautiful in a quiet, untouchable way. Lily sucked in a breath and felt tears gather. "This is impossible," she whispered. Memories crashed into her mind, her memories. She remembered collapsing at work, the world spinning, her chest tightening. She remembered thinking, "I'm too tired." Then darkness. That should have been the end. The door opened. A woman rushed in first. She was elegant, her hair perfectly styled, but her eyes were red and swollen. The moment she saw Lily awake, she froze. "Grace." The word broke in her throat. Behind her came a middle-aged man, followed by a younger woman. And then, last, was a tall man in a dark coat. The room fell silent. The elegant woman moved first. She walked slowly, as if afraid Lily would disappear if she rushed. Her hands trembled as she reached out and touched Lily's arm. "You're alive," she whispered. "You're really alive." Tears streamed down her face. She covered her mouth, choking on sobs. "My daughter, my Grace." Lily's chest tightened painfully. "Daughter." The man beside her let out a shaky breath. His eyes softened, filled with relief and disbelief. "Grace, you scared us." The younger woman, probably a sister, stood stiffly, her expression complicated. Shock, suspicion, resentment, all mixed together. And then there was the man in the dark coat. He hadn't moved. He stared at Lily as if she were a ghost. His face was pale, his jaw clenched tight. His eyes, dark and tired, held something deeper than shock. Pain. Long, buried pain. "Grace," he said quietly. That single word felt heavier than everything else. Lily opened her mouth, her mind screaming that this was wrong, that she was not who they thought she was. But when she looked at the woman crying beside her bed, at the man gripping the chair for support, at the sister who looked both angry and afraid, she couldn't do it. The nurse returned with a doctor, breaking the moment. Tests were done. Questions were asked. Lily answered carefully, vaguely. Headache. Dizziness. Confusion. The doctor nodded. She suffered trauma before. Memory gaps are expected. She needs rest. Before. Lily repeated weakly. The doctor hesitated, glancing at the family. "Miss Miller was involved in an accident 6 months ago. You were declared missing. Missing. Not dead." After the doctor left, the room grew quiet again. The elegant woman, her mother, sat beside the bed, holding Lily's hand tightly, afraid to let go. "You don't remember anything, do you?" Lily shook her head slowly. "It's okay," the woman said quickly, forcing a smile through tears. "You're alive. That's all that matters." The younger woman crossed her arms. 6 months dead, And now you suddenly wake up. Convenient. Anna, the father said softly. Anna looked away, jaw tight. The man in the dark coat finally stepped closer. He stopped at the foot of the bed, hands clenched. I don't care if you remember me or not, he said, voice low. As long as you're alive. His eyes met Lily's. Something twisted painfully in her chest. She didn't know him. But she could feel how much Grace had meant to him. That night, when everyone left, Lily lay awake, staring into the darkness. She had learned the truth from whispered conversations in the hallway. Grace Miller had been officially declared dead 3 months ago. A body was never found. And yet, here she was. Lily pressed her hand to her chest, heart pounding. If I tell the truth, she whispered to herself, no one will believe me. Outside the hospital room, the man called Ethan stood silently, watching the door, afraid that if he blinked, she would disappear again. Lily left the hospital 3 days later. The car that picked her up was black, long, and far too quiet. She sat in the back seat, hands folded on her lap, staring out the window as the city slid past. Everything looked familiar, yet none of it belonged to her. This was not the road she took to work. These were not the streets where she bought cheap dinners after overtime. This was Grace Miller's world. Mrs. Miller sat beside her, eyes never leaving Lily's face, as if afraid she might vanish again. If you feel tired, tell me immediately, she said for the 3rd time. Don't force yourself. I'm fine, Lily replied softly. The words felt strange in her mouth. Grace's voice, Grace's tone, but Lily's thoughts. The car stopped in front of a large modern house. White walls, tall windows, a perfectly trimmed garden. Lily's chest tightened. This doesn't feel like home, she thought. It feels like a place I could get lost in. Inside, the house was quiet. Too quiet. No warmth, no mess, no signs of daily life. It felt more like a display house than a family home. This is your room, Mrs. Miller said, opening a door on the 2nd floor. The room was neat, cold, and carefully designed. Everything was in its place. Clothes sorted by color. Books aligned perfectly. Even the bed looked untouched. Lily stepped inside slowly. This was how Grace liked it, Mrs. Miller said, watching her carefully. You always hated clutter. Lily nodded, unsure what to say. That night, she couldn't sleep. She lay on the unfamiliar bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence. In Lily Chen's old apartment, she could hear traffic, neighbors arguing, water pipes rattling. It was noisy, but alive. Here, the silence pressed down on her. The next morning, breakfast felt like a test. Mr. Miller sat at the head of the table, quietly reading the news. Mrs. Miller watched Lily closely, placing food on her plate before she could reach for it. Grace doesn't like milk, Anna said suddenly, her tone sharp. Lily froze, hand hovering over the glass. Mrs. Miller frowned. She just woke up. Her preferences may have changed. Anna let out a cold laugh. Or maybe she's not Grace at all. Anna, Mr. Miller said calmly. Enough. Lily lowered her hand slowly, her appetite gone. Every move I make can expose me, she realized. After breakfast, Mrs. Miller insisted Lily rest. But Lily couldn't. She wandered the house instead, carefully, quietly, trying to understand the life she had stepped into. She stopped in front of a study. Inside were framed certificates, awards, and photos. Grace stood in all of them, always composed, always distant. Never smiling fully. Lily reached out and touched one frame. Was she lonely? Lily whispered. That afternoon, Ethan came. He stood in the living room, hands in his coat pockets, looking slightly uncomfortable. I won't stay long, he said. I just wanted to check on you. Mrs. Miller immediately left them alone. The silence between them stretched. You don't have to force yourself to talk to me, Ethan said. I know things are confusing. Lily nodded. Thank you. He watched her carefully. You used to hate saying thank you. Her heart skipped. I changed, she said carefully. Ethan's lips pressed into a thin line. You've changed a lot. She expected suspicion. Anger. But what she saw in his eyes was something else. Hope. That night, Lily finally dared to touch Grace's belongings. She opened the drawer of the bedside table and found a phone. It was locked. She tried a few simple passwords, birthdays, anniversaries. Nothing worked. Frustrated, she placed it down. Then she noticed something odd. The phone case was cracked on one corner, as if it had been dropped hard. Her fingers tightened. Before she could think further, raised voices drifted in from downstairs. "The insurance payout already settled," Anna said angrily. "That money is not yours to question," Mrs. Miller replied coldly. "And the company shares?" Anna shot back. "They were supposed to go to Grace. Now what?" "Lower your voice," Mr. Miller said quietly. Lily stood frozen at the top of the stairs, heart pounding. Insurance. Shares. Money. Grace's death hadn't just left grief behind. It had left benefits. That night, Lily lay awake again, staring at the phone beside her. She suddenly understood something important. Grace Miller's life was not just unfamiliar. It was dangerous. And if Lily wanted to survive in this borrowed body, she couldn't just pretend. She would have to learn who Grace really was, before someone else decided she shouldn't have come back at all. Ethan began visiting often after that. Not every day, but enough that Lily noticed the pattern. He never stayed too long. He never pushed. He always brought something small, fruit, books, once even a potted plant he placed near the window without a word. "You used to say plants were pointless," he said quietly that day. Lily looked at the green leaves, then at him. "Maybe I just didn't meet the right one." Ethan paused. A faint smile tugged at his lips before disappearing just as quickly. They sat together in silence. With Ethan, the silence felt different. Not heavy. Not sharp. It felt careful. But Lily knew better than to relax. Ethan remembered Grace. Every detail. One afternoon, he tested her without meaning to. "You hate rainy days," he said casually, watching her from the corner of his eye. "They make you restless." Lily thought of herself, of rushing through rain with no umbrella, laughing at her own bad luck. The truth almost slipped out. "They're not so bad," she said instead. "Sometimes they make people slow down." Ethan stiffened. "That's not something you'd say." The air changed. Lily's heart raced. People change when they almost die. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "I suppose they do." But doubt lingered in his eyes. That evening, Lily overheard Mrs. Miller on the phone. "Her engagement can't just disappear," Mrs. Miller said firmly. "People are watching. The company is watching." Lily's fingers curled into fists. So this is about more than love. Later that night, Ethan found Lily standing in the garden, staring at the dark sky. "You always came here when you couldn't breathe," he said softly. Lily turned. "Did I?" "Yes. But you never let me stand with you." She hesitated. "Why?" "Because you said love made people weak." The words hit her harder than she expected. Grace had been afraid. Not cold, afraid. Ethan stepped closer. "You were preparing to break off the engagement before the accident." Lily's eyes widened. "I was." He nodded. "You said there were things I didn't understand. Things you couldn't involve me in." Lily suddenly felt the weight of a life she had never lived pressed down on her chest. What was Grace trying to protect? The next day, a new face appeared at the Miller house. Ryan Brooks arrived with a bright smile and expensive shoes. "Grace," he said warmly, opening his arms slightly. "You look alive." Something in his tone made Lily's skin crawl. "You haven't changed," he continued. Still disappearing without explanation. "I don't remember you," Lily said honestly. Ryan laughed. "That might be for the best." They sat across from each other in the living room. Ryan's smile never faded, but his eyes were sharp. "The company suffered a lot after your passing," he said lightly. "Your return complicates things." "So I've heard," Lily replied. He leaned forward. "Be careful. Some things are easier when they stay buried." Her pulse spiked. That night, Lily searched Grace's room again. She found an old tablet hidden beneath a false drawer. Inside were unfinished notes, voice recordings, and half-written emails. Names. Numbers. Dates. Grace had been investigating something. One recording caught Lily's attention. Grace's voice was low, tense. "If anything happens to me, don't trust Ryan." Lily's hands trembled. Before she could listen further, the door opened. Ethan stood there, frozen. "What are you doing?" he asked gently. Lily looked at him, guilt flooding her chest. "I think Grace was in danger," she said quietly. Ethan's expression darkened. "I know." Her breath caught. "You knew." "I tried to stop her," he said. "She wouldn't listen." Outside the room, Ryan stood in the shadowed hallway, listening. His smile was gone. And for the first time since waking up, Lily understood something terrifying. Grace Miller hadn't just died. She had been silenced. Lily didn't sleep that night. Grace's tablet lay hidden beneath her pillow, its cold edge pressing against her arm like a warning. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard Grace's recorded voice again, tight, urgent, afraid. "If anything happens to me, don't trust Ryan." At dawn, Lily slipped out of bed and locked the door. She turned the tablet back on. This time, she listened to everything. There were audio files dated weeks before the accident. Grace's voice grew thinner with each recording, as if exhaustion had hollowed her out. "They're moving money through shell accounts," Grace whispered in one file. "If this gets out, the company will collapse. Mom knows more than she admits. Dad is pretending not to see." Lily's breath caught. Her parents. Another file played. "I can't tell Ethan. If he gets involved, they'll destroy him too." Lily paused the recording, her fingers trembling. Grace hadn't pushed Ethan away because she stopped loving him. She had been protecting him. A knock sounded on the door. "Grace." Mrs. Miller's voice was sharp with concern. "Why is your door locked?" Lily hurriedly hid the tablet. "I needed time alone." A pause. Then the door handle turned gently. "You never lock doors." "I do now," Lily said softly. Silence stretched between them. Mrs. Miller finally sighed. "Come downstairs later. The board is coming. You need to show your face." The board. Grace's life didn't pause for trauma or resurrection. In the living room, men in suits waited. Lily sat stiffly beside Mrs. Miller, listening to discussions she barely understood: shares, contracts, public image. When Lily hesitated to answer a question, Mrs. Miller's hand tightened around hers beneath the table. "Grace is still recovering," Mrs. Miller said smoothly. "She trusts us to handle things." Lily met her eyes. For the first time, she saw fear behind the control. Later, Lily found Mr. Miller in the garden, trimming roses with careful hands. "You don't hold scissors like that," he said suddenly. Her heart dropped. "Like what?" "You used to rush," he replied. "Always impatient." Lily swallowed. "People change." Mr. Miller placed the scissors down. "Grace," he said quietly, "who are you?" The question hung in the air, heavy and dangerous. Lily almost told him. She almost said, "I'm not your daughter. I woke up in her body. I don't belong here." Instead, she bowed her head. "I'm trying to survive." Mr. Miller studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. So was she. That afternoon, Anna cornered Lily in the hallway. "Stop pretending," Anna said coldly. "You weren't like this." Lily met her gaze. "What was I like?" Anna hesitated. "Distant. Always tired. Always protecting Mom." Her voice cracked despite herself. "You never protected me." Lily's chest tightened. That night, Lily finally unlocked Grace's phone. The password was simple. Anna's birthday. Her hands shook as messages loaded: arguments, threats, warnings. One message, sent but never read, stood out. "If you touch my sister, I'll expose everything." It was addressed to Ryan. A sudden knock echoed through the house. Ryan stood at the door, rain dripping from his coat. "I hear you've been digging into old things," he said lightly. Lily forced herself to stay calm. "I'm just trying to remember my life." Ryan leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Dead people shouldn't remember too much." Fear crawled up her spine. Before he could say more, Ethan stepped between them. That's enough, Ethan said coldly. Ryan smiled. Careful, Ethan. You don't know who you're protecting. As Ryan walked away, Lily realized something chilling. Grace had been standing alone against people she loved. And now, Lily was standing in her place. If she wanted to live, she couldn't stay silent any longer. After Ryan left, the house no longer felt merely cold. It felt dangerous. Lily became careful in ways she had never needed to be before. She locked her phone. She hid Grace's tablet inside an old suitcase beneath the bed. Every smile she gave Mrs. Miller felt heavier, every conversation measured. Only with Ethan did she let herself breathe. They met one evening in the quiet cafe near the river. Grace used to come here, Ethan said. Lily watched the reflection of city lights ripple across the water and wondered how many nights Grace had sat here alone, carrying secrets too heavy for one person. You're not drinking coffee, Ethan said softly. You always hated tea. Lily smiled faintly. I'm trying to sleep better. Ethan looked at her for a long time. You're different. But I don't think that's a bad thing. Her heart tightened. This version of you, he continued, looks like she finally lets herself feel things. Lily looked away. What if this version shouldn't exist? Ethan's brow furrowed. What do you mean? She shook her head quickly. Nothing. But the guilt remained. She was falling for him not as Grace, but as Lily. And that love felt stolen. The next day, Mrs. Miller summoned Lily to the study. You need to return to the company, she said firmly. Your position must be stabilized. Rumors are spreading. Am I being protected? Lily asked quietly, or controlled? Mrs. Miller's face hardened. Everything I do is for this family. For the family, Lily repeated. Not for Grace. Later, Anna slipped into Lily's room, shutting the door behind her. I saw Ryan leaving, Anna said. He scares me. Lily hesitated, then spoke softly. Grace was trying to protect you. Anna froze. She left messages. Evidence, Lily continued. He threatened you. Anna's eyes filled with tears. Why didn't she tell me? Because she didn't want you involved. Anna laughed bitterly. She always decided things alone. But her anger softened. That night, Anna helped Lily organize the files. Together, they found the truth. Ryan had manipulated accounts, moved illegal funds, and used Grace as a shield. When she threatened to expose him, her accident happened. There was proof. Enough to destroy him. But also enough to destroy the company. Enough to destroy the Miller family. Lily sat on the floor, surrounded by evidence, her hands shaking. If I reveal this, she whispered, everything will fall apart. Anna looked at her. Grace would have done it. Lily closed her eyes. No, she said softly. Grace already did. I'm just finishing it. The family dinner was tense. Everyone was there. Mrs. Miller. Mr. Miller. Anna. Ethan. Even Ryan, invited under the excuse of reconciliation. Lily stood up, her legs trembling. I have something to say, she said. Ryan smiled thinly. Now doesn't seem like the time. It's exactly the time, Lily replied. She turned on the screen. Evidence flooded the room. Audio recordings. Transaction records. Threats. Ryan's smile vanished. Mrs. Miller's face drained of color. This isn't true, she whispered. You knew, Lily said quietly. You just chose the company. Silence shattered the room. Ryan lunged forward, but security was already there. As he was taken away, he turned back to Lily, eyes burning with hatred. You're not Grace, he hissed. The words echoed in her chest. She looked at Ethan. Tears welled in her eyes. I need to tell the truth, she said. Because love built on lies could never survive. The room was silent after Lily's words. I need to tell the truth. Mrs. Miller's hands trembled as she gripped the edge of the table. Mr. Miller remained seated, his face unreadable, while Anna stared at Lily with wide, frightened eyes. Ethan stood frozen, as if afraid to move, afraid that one step forward would shatter everything. Ryan's echo still lingered in the air. You're not Grace. Lily took a deep breath. For the first time since waking up in this body, she stopped pretending. "I'm not your daughter," she said softly. "At least, not the one you lost." Mrs. Miller let out a sharp cry. "What are you saying?" Lily continued, voice steady despite the tears sliding down her face. "My name is Lily Chen. I don't know how or why it happened, but I woke up in Grace's body. Her memories didn't come with me. Only her pain did." Anna stood abruptly. "Stop lying." "I wish it were a lie," Lily said gently. She told them everything, her old life, her collapse, waking up in the hospital, the fear of speaking the truth. She told them how she discovered Grace's recordings, how Grace had been fighting alone. When Lily finished, the room felt unbearably heavy. Mr. Miller finally spoke. "She always carried everything by herself," he said quietly. "Even as a child." Mrs. Miller shook her head violently. "No. No, you're Grace. You have her face. Her voice. I have her body," Lily said. "But her soul already paid the price." Mrs. Miller broke down then, years of control collapsing into sobs. "I pushed her too hard. I made her believe love was weakness." Anna knelt beside her mother, crying openly. "She protected me. I never knew." Ethan hadn't said a word. Lily turned to him last. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never meant to deceive you." Ethan's eyes were red. "Then who have I been falling in love with?" The question pierced her heart. "I don't know," Lily said honestly. "But I know it wasn't fair to you." She bowed deeply to the family. "I'll leave. After everything is settled." "No," Mr. Miller said suddenly. Everyone looked at him. "You gave our daughter justice," he continued. "And you gave us the truth she couldn't." Mrs. Miller wiped her tears. "If you go, she'll really be gone." Lily hesitated. "I don't want to replace her." Anna looked up. "You're not replacing her. You're finishing her story." Days passed. Ryan's crimes were exposed. The company suffered, shares fell, partnerships dissolved. Mrs. Miller stepped down. For the first time, the family chose honesty over image. One evening, Lily packed her bag. Ethan found her at the door. "Where will you go?" he asked quietly. "Somewhere I can be myself." He nodded. Then said, "Grace loved me in her way. But you." He stopped. "You chose truth, even when it cost you everything," he finished. "That's the person I love." Lily's tears fell freely. "You don't have to stay," he said. "But if you do, stay as Lily." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she dropped the bag. Months later, Lily stood in a small cafe she owned herself. Simple. Warm. Alive. A photo of Grace rested on the shelf, surrounded by light. Lily touched it gently. "You can rest now." Outside, Ethan waited, hands in his pockets, smiling softly. Lily stepped into the sunlight. No longer dead. No longer borrowed. Just alive.